So I'm just going to look back at that example of blocks everywhere and that's a scene that doesn't really make sense as far as composition and organization goes, and kind of use some of the organizational principles that I've been talking about to try to create a scene that makes sense and has sort of a compositional, if not really statement, but a logic to it, I guess, and basically how creating sort of a feeling of meaning between different blocks here. So right now I'm just kind of, and I've sped this up, about twice speed, just to speed along and kind of see kind of the process here, because I'm just kind of improvising. I'm trying to figure out, like, as I go, kind of where things can go. So over here, just trying to figure out, like, okay, I want to have a grouping over here. So I think I'll surround it by sort of a low fence and kind of show an example of kind of containment and how containment can make it feel like there are sort of a logical sort of zone and grouping right here. And as you can see, I've got kind of a group in the middle there that is all rotated to the 45 so that it's off the grid, but they're rotated sort of on their own version of the grid. I've got, let's see, I'm putting some of these objects here in the background. Yeah, for this one right here, by having sort of one large object, it sort of creates a sort of conceptual focal point for this cluster right here. So all these like little blocks will sort of like belong to it to create this little stair step here. And then what I'm going to do with this stuff is just kind of create sort of a repeating pattern, or a pattern that sort of your eye can follow as these kind of arc across here. Obviously this is not a cohesive level. I'm not really thinking about gameplay and exploration and stuff like that. All I'm trying to do here is demonstrate, how just taking a bunch of elements from sort of a sense of noise to a sense of an organized whole that we can start to work with. All right, I think that is just about it. Just moving this off to the side so we can see things a bit better from our home point of view. All right, so now I've got a scene here that is no longer sort of this cacophonous sort of mess of just objects everywhere. There's a lot of order to what I'm seeing right here. So from this point of view, I've got this structure here where one of the blocks is much larger, and I've got this sort of visual hierarchy of a stair step here. That's some utility that I could possibly go over there and climb up there. The metrics probably aren't quite right, but that's fine. That's not what we're looking at here. This is not quite a playable level, but just trying to demonstrate how organization can help make a scene more readable and create a more interesting and understandable composition and message. I've got a sequence of blocks here that they're not on the same sort of alignment with each other, but because they sort of go from one to another, it feels like they're sort of related. So I've got a path here, and I can get my head around that. There's a bunch of objects over here that are on the normal grid, and they are enclosed by a low wall, and that tells me that this is sort of a zone that's unto itself, and these objects sort of belong to a sort of a grouping. Let's see, so most of the scene is sort of based on this sort of full-size grid, so things are left to right and front and back, but I've got a sequence over here which is on a 45-degree angle, and that sort of like sets it aside. There's a little confusion here of how that sort of relates to this segment over here, but as far as like how that relates to here, you can see that they're clearly delineated. And then I've got this sequence here of increasingly tall sort of mountain sort of shapes. So from that point of view, and then even from moving into the scene, I feel like I can really sort of get a sense of the overall structure here, and that's kind of what I'm going for, is trying to create a understandable organization.